to be a Raven. NFL Network insider Tom Pelissero reports the Eagles, a 9th overall pick out of Georgia, defensive tackle Jalen Carter, have agreed to terms on a rookie contract. Carter becomes the first-round pick to sign a deal. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
All new spring deals are here at Lowe's. Get top deals on everything you need to freshen up your yard, like the Cobalt 24-volt string trimmer and leaf blower combo kit, only at Lowe's. Was $199, now just $149. Plus, get your lawn in shape with up to $15 off select Scott's Easy Seed Lawn Repair Mixes. Lowe's knows spring. Lowe's knows home improvement. Offers valid through 5/17. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. Scott's offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to 4hims.com/joy. That's FORHIMS.com/JOY.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I mean, it's still weird seeing LeBron as a Laker because of the history the Warriors and the Cavs had. But, I mean, LeBron's one of those special players, like, you know, the Michaels, Kobe's, LeBron, who bring out the best in you, especially from a competitive standpoint. And it's always an honor to match up against the greats. So it's not us versus LeBron James, though. They have a very complete team, the Lakers do. And, I mean, the fact he's still doing this at 38 years old is incredible and inspiring for athletes, you know, everywhere.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It's a Friday edition. TGIF on Sports Daily. That's Clay Thompson saying nice things about LeBron James, but the Warriors not doing nice things to the Lakers in Game 2 of the Western Conference semifinals. We'll get into that as we make our way through the show here. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor with you. Jad Chambers on board producing for us. We've got lots of giveaways to get to throughout the day here. Plenty to have fun with on the program. Glad to have you with us. The IHOP hotline is always open for you, and we're going to get that to you, 869-1240, anytime you'd like to get in. It's a pretty good day to call the program. In fact, we are open. We have Bruce Ramsey extended as the Wichita Thunder head coach. That's coming up in hour number 2 to lead things off there. All kinds of good stuff, Tommy. How are you on this Friday?
Glad to be here. Looking forward to jumping into it, talking NBA and a little bit of Wichita Thunder hockey and a bunch of other stuff coming on. And so looking forward to doing that today. Hunter
Dickinson, a little more, you know, as we dig into that, the big move shakes up college basketball, makes KU one of, if not the favorite to win it all next year. We'll get back into that as well. We've got betting scandals with Alabama baseball. We've got the NCAA going and beginning the process of an entire evaluation of the organization. So we'll get into if you got to do what you wanted to with the NBA, what would you do? Because it sounds like they are sort of getting into that exploration mode. But we'll begin today with the NBA playoffs. One game last night, and it was one the Warriors had to have. Boy, it felt like one you wanted to hammer the Warriors on. Chelsea Messenger mentioned that yesterday. But Anthony Davis, you know, sits there and makes that really difficult to do. But the Warriors found a way last night. Davis, who was fantastic in game 1, was not fantastic in game 2. The Warriors did the job and win by 27 at home over the Lakers.
This is what the Warriors do, right? They did it in the last series. They do it now. They're a better team when their backs are up against the wall a little bit. They couldn't afford to go down 2-0 at home. And so I had a pretty good idea that they would win this game. I just wasn't sure that it was going to be a blowout like it was, and that Golden State would be able to rest their starters in the fourth quarter. But that's what ultimately was able to happen. But again, this is what we've come to expect from Golden State, that they are, able to always bounce back. When they're playing from behind, when they're down in a series, a comeback game, and that's exactly what they had. And this is why Golden State has been dangerous for so long, because they have it in them to be able to just go out and roll over opponents. And, we really haven't seen that happen to the Lakers in the playoffs up to this point, where they've just been rolled over. It happened in game 2, and it, makes the series, I think, a lot more evenly matched. You would think that the pendulum is now swung over to the side of Golden State. But of course, if we can get Anthony Davis to perform in game 3, game 4, like he did in game 1, you never know. The Lakers could, be able to get that pendulum swung back over to their direction.
Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, it's because LeBron was pretty good last night, right? And it's going to be the Anthony Davis series, I think. If Golden State can find a way to stop him, and a lot of the credit, I think, was given to Draymond Green for doing that, who almost had his, very prototypical low point triple-double, fill the stat sheet kind of a game, then I think Golden State's a much better team than LA. But if Anthony Davis finds his groove, I'm not sure there is a better team than LA. So it'll be, I think it'll sort of live and die by Davis. And, he could have a bad game and LeBron could take over. Obviously, it's LeBron James still, but it'll be something to watch here. And, I think that we're due for a long series still. It always makes it hard for me when you get these blowout type games. We got this in Boston, Philly too. Like, does it have any larger implications on the series, or is it just one game? Because history, I saw the number last night, and I don't remember what it was, but it's a ridiculous number of, in this round, when the home team loses game 1, like in recent years, they don't lose game 2. Like, the trends are just absolutely absurd into what happens in those game 2s. So they got to go back to LA now. And we know that, the Lakers have taken over home court in that series. So it's still my favorite of the series that we have going here. I think that the storylines are never ending in this series, and I love it. And, I love that we've got two of the, probably top 10, whatever you want to put it, players of all time still able to get it done at this level, going up against each other, who have, a little bit of history, but you got to go way back to find that history. But it's cool. It's a cool series, the coolest one left to go. And I'm a little disappointed it was a blowout last night, but hopefully the rest of the way we get some tighter games there.
Well, you asked if this was just one game or if it's kind of an overall trend. I think that if the Warriors can maintain the adjustments they made going into game 2, then I think that it could be a trend in favor of the Warriors. They went small. Kevin Looney was not in the starting lineup. JaMychal Green replaced him. They got out. They played fast. They pushed the pace. That's what Golden State does really well. When you get out and you play fast, you're trying to basically have a track meet and beat the Lakers up and down the court. That's what fueled them to success in game number 2. And, of course, realizing that it worked as well as it did in game 2, there's no way they're moving away from that in game 3 and so on. So I do think that those adjustments they made propelled them to victory last night. And I think they'll absolutely continue to try to push that pace in the next game and so on.
Yeah, look, it's interesting because, remember, Looney was a big part of the betting angle yesterday. He had been so good in the series and the playoffs, and to go away from that was an interesting strategy. I think Steve Kerr probably, Tommy, does not get the credit for the kind of coach he is. I think because he's been the coach of such star-studded teams that it's people have sort of thought of it as a foregone conclusion. But I think Steve Kerr is a really good coach. And, there's another coach that's in the playoffs still that this reminds me of, and it's Eric Spoelstra. Remember when Spoelstra started? And I feel like when he got hired, it was like, oh, Spoelstra he was the old, like all you ever heard, he was a video assistant for Pat Riley, right? Like That's what we always heard. And he's inherited this super team, and he's just, this figurehead, whatever. Well, then the super team breaks up and Miami's never bad, right? Miami's always good. They're always in the mix. They always, it feels like, overachieves. And you're like, God, he's a really good coach. Like, I'm not sure he's not the best coach in the league right now. Kerr's probably the same way. Kerr's got an incredible, resume to get to that point. And yeah, he had a super team. And guess what? They did what they were supposed to do every year and were historically good. But in the last 2 years, I think it shows, and an adjustment like that, like you just mentioned, like that, those small little things can create a 27-point outcome like that. That's crazy. But I think he's a really good coach that probably doesn't get enough credit. So that series, I think it'll still be a long series. I think it'll still be competitive. I don't worry too much about that outcome as far as ruining that for us. Tonight, we've got 76ers back at home now with the Celtics. That feels like a pretty important game for Boston. And then, of course, kind of do or die for Phoenix at home, coming home against the Nuggets. And, they're actually 4-point favorites, which is really interesting to me, Tommy, because it has looked like Denver's just flat a better team than Phoenix right now. But the most desperate team in the playoffs right now is Phoenix. I don't think there's any question about that. But those are the two games tonight. I hope that Boston-Philly ends up being a good series. Honestly, I hope both of these end up being good series, but I think there's a chance that they're not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that for Phoenix, it's pretty clear do or die, for them tonight. They've got to find a way to get themselves back into this series. And, of course, you never know. We've seen desperate teams do desperate things before. And so that could very well be the case tonight for Phoenix. And then I'm looking forward to Boston and Philly. If Joel Embiid can bounce back and be more effective coming off that injury, I feel like in game 2, he was kind of easing his way back. I think he had 15 points in the game, but it wasn't dominant Joel Embiid like we've seen before. And I know that Philly wanted to kind of work him back in slowly. If he's more effective in game 3, then, who knows? I think Philly's got a good chance, to at least go in and compete with Boston. So we'll see how that plays out tonight too. And then one other point about the Lakers and the Warriors. We talked about the adjustments that Golden State made in game 2. Now the impetus is on the Lakers to make adjustments to combat what the Warriors did in game 2. And so I think it comes down to that coaching chess match between Steve Kerr and Darvin Ham. What can Darvin Ham do to respond to what Steve Kerr did in game 2? And, I don't know. Steve Kerr's been doing this for a long time. You almost kind of like to give him the nod as far as having the one up on coaching. But you never know if Ham can respond in a good way and make the right adjustments in game 3. That I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Lakers come out and respond in game 3.
Yeah, no offense to Darvin Ham, but I'm not
Right.
putting him up against Steve Kerr. Like that's just not, I hadn't proven it yet. It's interesting. Zach Gelb, another host on the network here, made a great point. AD, but James Harden's sort of been the same way, right? Like James Harden was fantastic in game 1 when they won, and then just not good at all in game 2. And that's exactly what happened with AD. Similar superstars, not in style, but just in, how Jekyll and Hyde they can be in these moments. Like, I don't think we're ever going to see LeBron James, right, play poorly in a playoff game. Steph Curry, while he wasn't, unbelievable last night, was very efficient, and Steve Kerr gave him a ton of credit after the game. So it wasn't like he had 12 assists, Tommy, 20 and 12 for Steph, right? So it is interesting when we talk about Anthony Davis and we look at that other series we mentioned. These series have been so similar, right? Harden was great in game 1. The Sixers get a surprising win, and then they get just demolished in game 2. Exact same thing in this series. Which one of those two guys do you think, legacy-wise, because I do like the comparison he draws there, because I do think they're kind of similar. Anthony Davis, James Harden, two players I think will always feel like had more to give. I think when the dust settles, which one of those guys do you think still has enough to potentially lead a team to the promised land in like this year's scenario? What's more likely? Which of those two stars could lead their team the whole way?
I don't know if I would take either one of them to lead a team. I think that both of them have done really well.
I don't think either of their teams have a chance without him, though.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is that I don't think that they are the leaders. Obviously with the Lakers, it's LeBron and AD is second. With Philly, Embiid is 1 and Harden is 2. Like they both slide into that second role. But I think legacy wise, in my opinion, I think it's got to be Harden, only because Anthony Davis has battled so many injuries
And Harden's
can't
played
stay
on
on
some
the court.
super
And Harden's
teams.
played, and Harden's been around for a long time and, fairly durable for the most part. I know he's had his share of injuries too, but not at the extent that Anthony Davis has. So I'm going to give it to Harden. I think that, if I had to pick between one of the two, I think that Harden is more reliable. AD, I think, has a higher ceiling, but Harden is definitely more reliable.
Yeah, I think they're both the most important players on their teams in this postseason. Didn't say they were the best players.
They might be
I
the
don't
most
think that
important.
they
They're
are.
not the leaders, though.
Well, but they've got to be. Like, if either one of those teams, leaders on the court, in the sense that if they, they've got to play well for their team to have a chance, right? And I think it's very similar. I think if you get the best James Harden, they could absolutely win that series against Boston. They could win an NBA title. And it's the same thing with Anthony Davis. If you get the best version of Anthony Davis, I think the Lakers are going to win the title, right? Like, if game one Anthony Davis, if game one James Harden shows up, because you sort of know LeBron's going to be there, right? For the most part, Embiid, health, pending, will be there to some capacity. And so I look at those two guys and they're very, very similar. I think in this other series, if you wanted to try and, I don't know what to do with this Phoenix. I'm trying to find a path, right, where you could maybe see Phoenix trying to win this series, but Chris Paul's been hurt. I don't know. I feel like Denver's got a little, swag and attitude going right now. I don't think that I see it. Even, I mean, it's going to take like a Herculean effort from Kevin Durant, along with Devin Booker, obviously, but I don't know if it's going to happen. It seems unlikely. And here they are, favored by 4 points tonight. So I don't know. I mean, maybe there is still enough left in the tank.
I mean, give me Denver on the money line on this game. I mean, I know Phoenix is desperate. Yeah, I mean, I know Phoenix is desperate, but Denver's the best team in the NBA. They're the best team in the NBA with the best player in the NBA in Jokic.
They've had the best
Embiid,
record. Do you really think they're the best team, though?
Sure, I do. I think that they've got the team chemistry to win an NBA championship. I honestly do. I think that they've got the talent assembled. They've got Mike Malone, who I think is a solid coach. So yeah, I mean, of course, I think that they are the best team in the NBA. I mean, I think that maybe Boston, can jump up there and be maybe number one. I don't know. It's kind of 1 and 2 for me between Denver and Boston. But if Denver is going to be underdogs tonight in Phoenix, give me the Nuggets on the money line. I like that. I really do.
Yeah. I'm not making that bet. Not down 2-0. I think that scares me because Phoenix has got to be so desperate in this game. That scares me a little bit.
But what's the path then? I mean, is the path, like you said, a Herculean effort?
Just
from
in
Kevin
this
Durant?
game.
Like,
I'm talking in this
on.
game. In this game, I mean, I like Denver to win the series. I'm just not sure that I like them in this game with the level of desperation coming out of Phoenix. I mean, it's still Durant and Booker.
I think Denver's better than Phoenix. I think Denver's better than LA. I think Denver's better than Golden State. I mean, we'll see how those series play out. I think they're better than all three of the remaining teams in the West.
That's a good. I still think I like Golden State better. The Lakers I would like better I mean, Anthony Davis being good makes the Lakers the best team, in my opinion. But I'm not going to count on that. I think that the Warriors still, to me, I mean, that's what's crazy about the Warriors. They still have Clay and Steph. They still have Draymond Green. Those guys are all still good players. Jordan Poole's
I think it's Warriors bias a little bit. I think it's more of like what they've done in the past. And I'm not saying they're
I get that Denver's got the best
are.
record. Denver's got the best record. I'm not taking that away. I just think when I look at the team, when I think about the team, the coach, all the factors, I still think, and I know I put money on it a long time ago. I've been curious about the Warriors all year. Yeah, they weren't great on the road in the regular season, but like, what's happened between last year and now that's made us think this team, we've seen it do it so often, who has so much experience in these moments, like, what has made them? And it could be as simple as Denver being healthy, which they haven't been all the time in the postseason. That might be it, but I'm still like, when push comes to shove, I just have to trust Golden State the most out of all these teams. And that's unfair to Denver because they haven't done a thing to make us not trust them. They've been great so far in the postseason. It's probably just that we haven't seen it before. And I hope, look, I think Nuggets fans are awesome. I think that's an underrated basketball city. And I think it would be fantastic if they won an NBA title. And I almost root for it if I didn't have money on Golden State. If Golden State goes out, I'm going to root for Denver. I'll put it that way for sure.
And you know what I like about Denver is that they kind of fly under the radar a little bit, right?
Absolutely,
like, they do is go about their business. They've got that chip on their shoulder, absolutely, and that's why Christian Brown has been a perfect fit for Denver with his attitude and the swagger that he brings. But they go about their business. They fly under the radar. They let the teams in the bigger markets like the Lakers and, I guess Golden State to an extent get all the attention in the West. And then they just go out and win basketball games. And so I know Phoenix is a desperate team right now. And they've got superstars in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. They absolutely do. And, the Suns, they've got to get something going now. They can't afford to fall behind 3-0 in the series. But man, God, Denver's a good team. And again, I'm going to say it, Denver on the money line.
Okay. I'm not going to go there with that because I'm worried. And that's not a Denver thing. That's a Phoenix thing. They still have some of the best players in the world and they're desperate and they're back home and their hair will be on fire and all those things. It's a desperate game for them. If they don't win, are obviously not going to win the series. They may be already bumped out. But, here's last thing I'll say about that with Phoenix. All that's happened is they've not won the games that they're not supposed to win, right? Like they lost the first 2 on the road too. Like Phoenix, while it's desperate in reality, it doesn't have to feel desperate because they can just say, guys, we lost 2 on the road. Fine. We're coming back home. Let's win our home games and then we'll try to win 1 on the road. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. It seems trappy to me. We got to remember that. We'll keep that on mind that you're on that money line. 869-1240 is the number to call. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here with you on this Friday edition. We're going to make our way through some of these other stories. Let's talk about Hunter Dickinson a little bit more and what it's done to KU. The dust has settled on that move a little bit. We've seen all the reaction. Most people elevating Kansas now to one of the favorites. But we'll look at that and see any other fallout, what we think might else happen here with Kansas basketball after they land the big one. It's Albracht and Castor. It's a Friday. We'll be right back. right, the first inning, unpredictable, but you can place a no-run first inning wager with confidence at BetMGM. Make a no-run first inning prop bet on any Friday MLB game. If only one run is scored in the first, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to $20. Take big swings all season long with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks and an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Log into your account, sign up to BetMGM today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly and offer resources to help you make appropriate choices. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Kansas only. New and existing customer offer. Opt-in required. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. I'm going to take the chalk here on this, Tommy. So if you're on BetMGM, just go into promotions. Make sure you opt into they call them Nerfy bets, no run first innings. I'm going to take the chalk, lowest total on the day, best starting pitching matchup on the day, Tommy. I'm putting mine with the Astros and the Mariners. Two pretty good offenses, but Christian Javier and Luis Castillo pitching in that game. And either way, it doesn't really matter because it's backed up by a bonus bet. So if you lose it, so that's mine. I'm taking the Nerfy in the Astros and the Mariners. The Nerfy is a pretty popular thing for people to do here with baseball.
Give me the Nerfy on the opening game of Athletics and Royals. I mean,
I thought about that one
so
too.
bad. They're so bad. I mean, the pitching isn't great either. So you never know. There could be a big explosion in the first inning, but I don't know. Give me the Nerfy in inning number 1 in that game.
Yep, I actually thought about that one. That was going to be that. By the way, that Nerfy is plus 100. The Nerfy I took was minus 155. So much better odds on your Nerfy. And again, it's backed up by a bonus bet, so it doesn't really matter. Probably if I had to go back, I might go your way on that just because the odds are so much better. But I already placed it. We'll be good. Astros Mariners tonight. That's my Nerfy. Those are fun bets if you've never done it. Getting the bonus bet might be a decent time to try it. All right, Tommy. Hunter Dickinson joins Kansas. And no matter how you stack the starting lineup, whether you put in Morris or Elmarco Jackson or, some of these other names, Chris Johnson, I don't know who it's going to be, but the bench is going to have at least Ernest Uday. And then whatever combination doesn't make it into your starting lineup. So they've got some depth at forward. They've got depth at center. As of right now, as far as I know, nobody has transferred out of KU. I cannot imagine that will stay that way, but they haven't. So this is a team that you just like. I sit here and think about this team and the starting lineup. Again, whatever combination you make of it, but one that features Harris and Dickinson and KJ Adams. And there's not going to be a college basketball team that I take over them to win a national title. I don't think. Like I'm trying to imagine some, scenario or whatever where this could change, but boy, I just don't. And Kansas right now, when this news started, they were at plus 1,600 at BetMGM. They're now at plus 1,200. I would never take a college basketball champion, by the way, at those odds right now. It just doesn't seem high enough for how hard it is to win the tournament. But to use it as a guide, they're the third favorite right now to win the title next year behind Duke and UConn. I don't know how you could take anybody over Kansas if you assume health for everybody, because Harris to Dickinson seems so perfect.
Yeah, the season starts like 6 months from now, and I'm already salivating over DeJuan Harris passing the ball to Hunter Dickinson. Like it's a dream come true. You've got one of, if not the best point guards in America going into next season with one of, if not the best big men in college basketball going into next season. Like that's the pairing, that's the combination. And I think that's a massive, massive reason why Hunter Dickinson chose KU. It wasn't something that I think that he necessarily spoke on a whole lot when he talked about the reasons why he joined KU. I mean, there was the whole working with Bill Self and going to win a national title and all of that. But deep in there and buried in there, the context in that is being able to play with the point guard like DeJuan Harris, who can get him the basketball in a variety of different ways. And I think that that's got to be something that he thought about a lot during the process. He probably looked at the other schools like Maryland and Villanova, Georgetown, Kentucky, about what were their point guard situations like and how effective are those
Sure.
point guards in getting him the basketball. And I'm not sure that there was a better option in that regard than DeJuan Harris at Kansas getting him the ball.
I want to be careful though, because I think what pops into everybody's head is Doak and Dot, right? Like I want to be careful and not just assume that it's going to be like that was for that team. That's unfair, because that was some of the best point guard to center play I've ever seen at the college level. Like, it was unstoppable. I fully believe Kansas was going to win the title that year. I think, that was as good a team as I've ever seen in college basketball. And that's the obvious thing we think about when we think about Dickinson going, because you're like, DeJuan Harris is such a brilliant passer, and Dickinson's, but Doak was such a unique creature in college basketball. Like, the physical difference between Doak and Hunter Dickinson to me is significant. Hunter Dickinson is highly gifted, right? But he wasn't like this chiseled superhero looking guy like Doak was. Now, Doak was, a lot of things and injury prone, but when Doak was healthy, like he was kind of like Sheboy. It's just like unstoppable, right? I don't know that Dickinson is that. So and Dotson was so perfect for that. It could be that, right? That could be what this team gets to, and it could be that unstoppable in those things. But to predict it to me seems just a little bit unfair to everybody involved because of how good Doak to Dot was. Like, maybe Harris to Dickinson gets there. Number one, they'll only have 1 year together, most likely, right? Doak and Dot had several. So I don't know.
Both
I
Harris
want to be
and
careful
Dickinson
there.
have 2 years potentially left in eligibility.
I highly
so
doubt Dickinson is
you
going to
never
be
know.
playing 2 more years of college basketball.
You never know.
I don't
but
think he came
your
to
point,
Kansas to do that.
To your point, though, I don't think it has to be Dot to Doak. It can be completely different.
It doesn't
And
have
it's,
to
it's
be.
kind of apples and oranges a little bit, because
It is.
I think Dot was a better scorer than Harris is. And so there was a little bit of a, like, Dot went to the hoop a lot. And I know Harris does that too, but I don't think he does that quite at the clip that Dot did. I also think that Dot was able to shoot the three a little bit more effectively than Harris does. Not that Harris doesn't, but I think that Dot was more of a scorer first and then a passer, where Harris is more of a passer first. The other thing too is that Dickinson can also step out from three and hit threes occasionally,
Right.
where
Different
Doak was
player.
really
That's my
limited to just
Yeah.
within that, inside the circle. So, I think that there are some differences there. I'm not expecting them to perform at that level like Dotson and Udoka did, but I do think that it can be highly, highly effective in the way that those two guys are playing together.
And that's my point. Like, I just, like, Harris and Dotson, totally different players to me. And I from what I've seen from Dickinson and Doak, totally different players. So for that to be where everybody jumps, which is, I think, what naturally happens because of the recency bias, that's where it's like, no. Like, I don't want, because I don't think that's what it's going to be. I think they're just going to happen to have an elite point guard and an elite center. I don't think it's going to look like that lob show we had with Doak and Dot, right? Like, I just don't think that that's going to be the case.
And
that's
also,
not a bad
by
thing
the
either.
way,
It could
yeah.
be different in a good way.
By the way, I've heard a few people who have said to me, and not just after the commitment, but even before, like in the recruitment, after Dickinson put his name in the portal, I heard some people say, Dickinson's really overrated. He's not that good, blah, 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 blah. And then I thought, okay, well, have you seen him play for Bill Self yet? And do you know Bill Self's track record in developing bigs? I mean, we talked about it before. We've talked about guys like Doak and David McCormick, but even going back in time with Jeff Withey and Cole Aldridge and Thomas Robinson and the Morris twins, and like the list goes on and on and on of these high caliber bigs that Bill Self has developed and have had tremendous amounts of success playing in Bill Self's system. And so I don't know exactly what they've meant by saying, oh, he's overrated. I just think that there were some people that thought, there's all this attention on Hunter Dickinson when, and I think that the bottom line is that he was the best of the bunch in the transfer portal. That's why he got all the attention, regardless if he is a a college basketball Hall of Famer or not, I have no idea, but he
No.
was the best available player in the portal this year, and Kansas got him.
This is part of my point. You hear people say he's overrated because people are like, well, he's not going to be as good as Doak was. And it's like, okay. Like, what does that even mean? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, give me a better center right now in college basketball. And I agree with you. Yeah. And Bill Self is as good, if not the best, at coaching that position based on a track record. So I don't know. Like, I think he's appropriately rated. The guy went for 19-9 last year. Like, you got to imagine that could get better. And by the way, there's opportunity there. So it's not like he's going to a place where his shots or his minutes are going to get limited. I don't think that's going to happen at all. He's going to, I'm the most excited legitimately for KJ Adams. Like, this move makes me the most excited for Adams and what that could potentially unlock. Like, if we're looking for some dominant offensive rim rocker that comes out of this, I think it's as good. There's a good a chance that it's KJ Adams as there is that it's Hunter Dickinson. Hunter Dickinson can be like a stretch center, but if you can free up the ability for KJ Adams to go up and get him, that's where I'm like, that's what has me so excited here. Is now Adams cannot be undersized, right? Now he's appropriately sized, and we know how athletic and freaky he is. That's what I'm excited about and what I want to see. And the defense too, by the way. Like, even if Hunter Dickinson scores 14 points a game instead of 19, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's just say it did. Like, the thought of Harris on the perimeter and those two down low defensively, that's why this team will be the favorite. It's not because of the offense. It's because of that.
Right.
They're going to have a chance to be that good defensively. If, I don't know about the players coming in, the other two players, Timberlake and Morris defensively, and freshmen defensively are almost always a liability. But those three anchoring the defense by the end of next season, if those three are healthy, Kansas, I'm not going to take any team defensively over Kansas.
Yeah, and on top of that too, defenses have to account for Hunter Dickinson, not just in the post. They have to account for him all over the place. And so you would think that would, maybe open up some opportunities for the shooters for Kansas to get some good open looks. If that's, Timberlake, and he's got an opportunity to, shoot the ball like he did at Towson at Kansas and maybe even more, that's going to be awesome. I don't know Arterial Morris that well. I don't exactly know how great of a shooter he is, but then I also know that they still have, at least right now, another scholarship available. They hosted Mackenzie Mbako on campus just the other day before Hunter Dickinson committed to KU. He's a 5-star recruit, decommitted from Duke, and it sounds like there's a possibility he could end up at KU also. There might be more roster turnover. I know that, the starting lineup as it's projected right now, that may not totally be the starting lineup when we get to the start of the season. So, I know that Bill Self is still out there working, but I think that finding shooters now, and they've already got a couple, but finding shooters that can help complement what Hunter Dickinson brings to the table, that's going to be ideal.
I wish there was like a Dexter Dennis out there, and there may be, like, just an elite level defender that can keep you honest shooting the ball to slide into that spot. I hope that here's the point in that. Like, yeah, the Duke guy, Mbako, like those high pedigree guys like that, they already have enough of those. Like, I'm not as interested in that as I am like, go just find some scrappy, like, whatever.
I love the dude
like
from Texas Tech. Jalen
kind
Tyson
of like
is
Kevin
a wing.
McCullough was, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like
Jalen
McCullough was.
Tyson's
Like,
a
just
wing
go
from
get
Texas Tech.
some
He is not
nasty
committed yet.
defender that can shoot the three when he's open. That kind of, go get that guy, right? Like, I don't need another McDonald's All-American. They've got enough of those guys.
You want a Marcus Garrett on the court is what you're
I
looking
want a
for.
Marcus Garrett on the court. I want a Kevin McCullough on the court. Yes, that's what I want him to do with that last spot. They may have more than one, because we do expect, both of us, that somebody will transfer out. All right, we'll come back. Let's give away something on our way out here. Let's do that, actually, Chad. We just got these. This is hot off the press here. The next sneak preview over to a movie at Boulevard Town West is Fast X. I mean, this is going to be good, right? Like, it just is. The early showing's on May 18th at 7:00. We got a bunch of tickets, so we'll start giving these away in pairs. So if you want to go see Fast X before everybody else in a couple of weeks, you can do it on us at Sports Daily. Caller number 1 to the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. You'll get a pair of tickets. Jad will take care of that. We'll come back. More to give away, more to come here on Sports Daily on a Friday. All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily, KFH coming up top of next hour. Bruce Ramsey, Wichita Thunder head coach, extended the contract there. He's now getting, quite a bit of seasoning here in Wichita, which is always cool to see continuity in those roles. So we'll talk to him, catch back up with him coming up top of next hour. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor here. Tommy, it's been an experience trying to look at Major League Baseball from betting. We talked about nerfies, but when we talk about baseball and betting, this story out of Alabama is wild. Brad Bohannon fired. I guess, and I still don't what in the world is he doing here? Apparently, he was talking to another guy who was placing a bet at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, and it had to do with them coming back in a game against LSU, and somehow he was communicating with this guy while he was placing bets on a university phone. And I'm just like, what in the world? What is happening? What is going on here? And it's strange to think, but of course we know it's going to happen when we open up so much, betting opportunities and all these things. But Bohannon was making $275,000 a year, plus another $200,000. His total value of his contract is a little over $2 million. $2 million to place a bet? You're good, at some point, it's not about the money. That's wild to me. Why on earth would you that? It's hard to even fathom this. And what's even crazier about it is he got caught, right? I've heard all this a million times, and I'm like, how did he get caught? How is this being surveilled? This is wild.
Think about it this way, though. And I've seen a lot of people that have, they're clutching their pearls and, going crazy over this. And I get it. It's a bad story. But think about, that this sort of thing has happened forever, right? Off the books, under the table, in shadowy areas, it's happened. We know, I'm not naive. This stuff has happened before in every sport at probably every level. Nobody goes unscathed in this, but because of the way that sports betting has become commonplace now and, legislated and legal and all of this, now you have the safeguards in place to catch the bad actors who are doing this sort of thing, where before you really didn't. It was every once in a while you would catch somebody like a Pete Rose, or something like that, right? Every once in a while, you knew that somebody was, betting on a sport that shouldn't be, or point shaving, or throwing games, or whatever it was. You heard about it. Every once in a while, you were shocked, and then that person got sanctioned appropriately because of what they did. Now, it's kind of out in the open when these things are happening. You've got, the safeguards in place to catch these people when they're doing it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I haven't, but this guy could bet football when it comes around.
Sure.
But it's not like you're saying, no, everybody else gets to have fun and you can't. It's you literally just can't do one thing, and that's bet on the games that you're involved in. Come on now. It's crazy to me. Crazy. Cannot believe it. Honestly. I just am dumbfounded by that story. All right. We'll come back. We're going to try and track down Bruce Ramsey, Wichita Thunder head coach, when we return. Plenty to come. I want to get into this NCAA story. They're sort of having a top to bottom overview. Some consulting firm's about to make a whole bunch of money. But it has me wondering, if we could just blow it up and start over, what would we do with the NCAA? We'll talk about that in hour number 2 as well. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor, TGIF. We'll be right back.
With Bob and Tom on 97.5 and 1240 KFH, Wichita's most listened to sports radio. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Guests already trust IHOP to make their breakfast favorites, and Eggs Benedicts are no different. IHOP has covered all the flavors you crave with their new line of Benedicts, from the classic Black Forest ham the spicy fire roasted poblano, or maybe the rich bourbon bacon jam, to the fresh pesto veggie, and more. IHOP has upgraded to high-quality hollandaise that is rich and creamy. Use this delicious poached eggs, or eggs however you like them, and throw in a toasty English muffin for the perfect Eggs Benedict. Visit IHOP today and try the new Benedicts.
Get ready for your next outdoor adventure with big savings at Menards. Get 11% off tents, coolers, flashlights, bug spray, and much more. Plus, stock up with snacks for s'mores. Pick up a bag of campfire marshmallows for just 99 cents. Graham crackers for $3. And a 6-pack of Hershey's candy bars for $4.99, all after 11% off. Good through May 7th, savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards. $25 all-in tickets to over 3,800 shows. Concert Week is May 10th through 16th. It's the best time to get tickets to see all your favorite artists like Beck and Phoenix, Big Time Rush, Fall Out Boy, Janet Jackson, Country Wayne, Shania Twain, Snoop Dogg, and many more. With $25 all-in tickets, you can fill your year with shows. So get your friends and grab your $25 all-in tickets May 10th through 16th. Head to livenation.com/concertweek. That's livenation.com/concertweek.
Yingling Aviation is a leader in the aviation industry in Wichita and around the world. We're innovating, leading, and hiring A&P mechanics and more. Receive up to a $2,500 sign-on bonus, competitive pay, health, dental, vision, and life insurance, 401k, paid vacation, and more. We offer a family atmosphere, creative culture, and the opportunity to advance in your career. Join the Yingling Aviation team and grow with us. All positions apply online today at yinglingaviation.com while openings are still available.
Are you looking to pave your parking lot or driveway? Call Pave the Way. They specialize in asphalt and concrete paving and repairs and have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. They can custom tailor their estimate to fit your individual needs and budget, and always make their customers a priority. Call 316-990-5855 today for a fast free estimate, or online at pavethewayusa.com.
Pave the way. Kicking asphalt every day.
Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop can help you stretch your money further on brand new living room, dining room, and bedroom groups, bunk beds, futons, and mattress sets, all at the best prices in town, guaranteed. Take it home today with our easy, no credit needed financing and instant approval. Open 7 days a week at 1026 South Oliver and 604 North Tyler, or visit us online at crazyjsfurniture.com.
Crazy J's Furniture and Sleep Shop. The safest deal in town.
Have you heard about this? The basketball tournament, TBT, the winner-take-all tournament for $1 million is coming back to Wichita this summer. It'll be hosted by WSU's alumni team, the Aftershocks. Tickets and info on the Aftershocks and other teams in the tournament can be found at thetournament.com. It's an insane idea. Single elimination $1 million basketball. If the Aftershocks win 6 games, they'll take home $1 million. Buy your tickets at thetournament.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of DIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 3.5% to their bottom line in the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888. That's 888-8888.
You could win a trip to see Guns N' Roses at a U.S. stop of your choice on their 2023 World Tour, including round-trip airfare, hotel tickets, and a $200 gift card. Go now to kfhradio.com to enter for your chance to win this national contest. Tickets available now at livenation.com.
Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor. This is Sports Daily on Wichita's #1 sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
All right, welcome in, everybody. Sports Daily, KFH. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor, working on tracking down Bruce Ramsey, Wichita Thunder head coach. We'll let you know once we get that for you. Welcome into this Friday edition of the program. Glad to be here. The IHOP hotline always open, 869-1240. Tommy, while we track down Bruce, Lamar Jackson, we've heard some of it here in our updates and the commercial breaks and everything, saying he never wanted to do anything but play for the Ravens, saying all the right stuff. I don't know if I believe that. Don't really care, quite frankly. But they've given him some weapons there. They've drafted wide receivers. They brought in Odell Beckham. He's saying things like his goal is to pass for 6,000 yards. How good is Lamar Jackson going to be? I think that as we've made our way back through this, and now that the dust has settled on it, if he's healthy and the Ravens are not as unlucky as they've been with injuries the last few years, are the Ravens legitimate contenders in the AFC? I think that they are. I think they have I don't know how good their defense is going to be, but I love their head coach. I think Lamar Jackson's great. They've added some weapons that I think fit him well. I think the Ravens are absolutely Super Bowl contenders.
I'll have to see it to believe it. I'm not there yet. And the reason for that is simply because the weapons that they have this year, they've had weapons in the past too that haven't really panned out. And so
they've had a lot of injury issues. And I know that's not a cop out, but it's a reality. Like, they do try to bring weapons in, and then those guys are always hurt. For Jackson, the wide receivers, they've had years where they're down to like their 9th string running back, it feels like. It has me curious, and I've seen a lot of people put them high, and then I pause for a second, and I'm like, okay, we'll get more into that. We do have Bruce Ramsey now, Wichita Thunder head coach. Good to have you back on, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How about yourselves?
Doing well. So it's May 5th right now. Happy Cinco de Mayo, by the way. What is May, early May, this time of year look like for you in this league? Like, what are you doing now as coach of the Thunder?
This is probably the slowest time of the year, I would say. Cleaning things up, dealing with, players that had to leave, and travel money and expenses and stuff like that. Finalizing, our affiliation, which I just did a couple days ago. So I think we're going to reunite with San Jose, which is very positive. And, start to recruit a little bit, but not overly. We can't even sign contracts till the middle of June. But so this is actually a little bit of a downtime for me. So I do enjoy it.
Let's talk a little bit about that contract extension, Coach. And I know that, Thunder Nation, excited to have you back for, at least a couple more years here in Wichita. And you've been in Wichita for several years now, taking the team to the playoffs, one Coach of the Year. What does it mean to you to be here in Wichita, to stay here in Wichita?
I'm ecstatic. I really enjoy the city. We have a beautiful rink. We have passionate fans. And I've been here for 4 years, kind of get used to calling Wichita home, and really, I want to have to traverse somewhere else. So, it's a great city, and my goal is to put a really good team on the ice that's capable of winning a championship, and having that opportunity to win a championship for the fans of Wichita would be just incredible.
Bruce, I'm a Wichita transplant too. I've been here almost a decade now. I always wonder this about people like us. Like, I got here and had no idea this would be home, right? Like, I thought I was working on a TV contract, and I was like, I'll be here a few years and then we'll see where else next. But now it's home, and we've raised kids here, we've got businesses here, we're loving life. What do you think it is about this area that does that for people like us, where maybe you don't realize it at the time, but you grow to make it home?
Yeah, it's not going to be the city that just pops on your list of
right
destinations want to go live. But, it's just once you get here, then, the people are so supportive and so nice, especially in the hockey world. It's incredible. We have, they do so much for the players and then for the coach as well, which is great. So that just endears you right away is, just that, the caring of the people and the passion that they show for their sports and, they love their hockey, and that, obviously makes it, exciting for the boys and us. We had 12,000 people at our last home game, which was incredible. And we did get a win for it, which was really good. So, and the weather's not too bad. You can't complain too much about that. You have your, your downtime during the winter, but it doesn't really snow. And I was born and raised in Northwestern Ontario, so I know what cold weather's all about. So I don't mind being a little bit more south, that's for sure.
Well, Bruce, I want to ask you about the affiliation with the San Jose Sharks. Just wrapped up year one in that affiliation after several years with the Edmonton Oilers. How do you assess year one of the affiliation? And I know that you said that, looking at re-upping and planning on re-upping with San Jose. What are your expectations for the future with that affiliation?
Yeah, we had some bad luck with them this year. They did send us some really good players at the beginning of the year. But it turned out they all had some kind of injury that actually cost each of those players a season-ending injury, basically. So we was misfortunate, just some bad luck that we didn't get to see those players play very much. But I know just in my conversations recently that they're definitely going to do more to make sure that we have depth in our system, players available for them, and they just have more depth overall for their teams as well. So it should be much more beneficial. By the end of the year, we didn't have any contracted players, and it's really hard to win in this league without those. So we're really hoping that San Jose steps up and helps us out a lot next year and gives us some really good quality kids.
Yeah, this is Bruce Ramsey, Wichita Thunder head coach. Be here for a little while longer, which I know Thunder fans are excited about. It's got to be interesting and difficult. And we've talked about this before with you here on this show, but it's always interesting to me when you've got this dynamic of if you're achieving your best hockey, you're losing your best players, right? Like that's such an interesting dynamic for me, and it always has been. Like, you want the best and you want these guys to succeed ultimately, even if it's, in some ways stabbing yourself in the foot a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely is. And that's, when you look at like the NHL, they play with the same players, the best players. They don't lose anybody. They play with them all year long. So they really do have that consistency throughout their lineup. Whereas, last year, we had one really bad stretch over about a 12-game stretch where I lost about 5 or 6 guys and just within about a week, all key players, and I didn't have any goaltending. I lost both my goaltenders, and it hurt us, cost us the playoffs basically. I think we went 2-10 during that time, and then we brought it back together. I got some new players in and solidified the lineup, and we had a good end of the season. But that stretch, 5% stretch of the season, basically cost us not getting into the playoffs just from losing quality players, getting called up and different things.
What's it like for you, especially I know during the off season, of course, a big part of your job is recruiting players to Wichita, bringing them in, signing them to contracts. But even then during the season, you're having to go and do that too, as you're losing players to the next level up or potentially going overseas or even injuries. So what's that like for you when you're going and trying to recruit these guys to come in, not only during the off season, but also in season itself?
Yeah, we went on a road trip last year. I think we were in Cincinnati for a couple games, in Toledo, and that's when it started. That's when I got hit. That's when I lost I had no goaltending at that time, so I was out on the phone. And we had games coming up, so it was vital that I find somebody right away, and you just don't bring in a goalie to come in and. It's a tough position for sure, and you're trying to find some quality. And I was on the phone, I think, for 2 or 3 nights in a row till 4 o'clock in the morning, and then getting up really early and getting ready for practice, and back on the phone and just searching, trying to find the right fit. And didn't really find it till later on. It took a little bit, but yeah, I just think it gets frustrating when you, especially when you start losing players that multiple players that quick moments, and it's really hard to replace. But we do have a league below us called the SBHL that we go to that has some pretty decent players. So that's basically our feeder system for us. They hate us like we hate the American Hockey League.
Bruce Ramsey joining us, head coach of the Wichita Thunder. Bruce, what's your favorite sport outside of hockey?
Fishing. Love to fish. And golf, I guess you could add that to the list too.
Now, if you and Tommy Castor tee it up, Tommy's I hear a pretty good golfer. How is that going to go? How's that round going to go?
I'm okay. I have my moments, but I'm not enough. So I got to probably give the edge to Tommy.
So, but is it one of those things where, see, now, like and Tommy and I have not golfed yet, but my strategy for Tommy would be to put, that sweet zone where you have like just the right amount of beer to like lock in. My goal would be to put him over that edge and then talk as much trash as I could possibly talk to throw him off. Are you psychological warfare involved in your golf game?
Oh, I'll do what I have to do for sure. We'll have to throw some shots. Probably.
It's not, that's not hard to do, to push me over the edge. I'm kind of a mental midget. So, all I need to do is get that trash talk, going at me, and I'll fall apart, it like paper mache. That won't be difficult to do. We'll have to go and hit the link sometimes there, Coach.
Yeah, we will. I really enjoy that for sure.
What's priority one now going into next year for you for the Thunder, Coach, before we let you go? For those fans out there, what's going to put you guys over the edge and get you back to the promised land?
Well, I think number one was just solidifying our affiliation and making that, a positive thing for all of us. And then number two, I really, really would think that it'd be nice to find some really good quality veterans, guys that I know that are going to be here all year, that are a little older, that aren't going to get called up because of their age, but still can really contribute on the ice and be good leaders in the locker room. That's where my search is starting. I need to find guys like that are really going to take control of that locker room. And we have a couple of them from last year, which is awesome, but I want to find a few more as well.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you stopping by. We'll do this as we make our way toward the season and get caught up with you guys. Congratulations on the return. I know Thunder fans are excited about that. Thanks for stopping by here, and let's do it again soon.
All right. I really appreciate it, boys. Have a good summer. I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. There goes Bruce Ramsey. We do it. Let's get out there and swing it a little, Tommy. I say that now like I have time to play golf. The idea of golf, I love, but I don't have the time, and it drives me insane, right? Like I'm like, all right, today's going to be the day I get out to the range. I'm going to go out to the range and I'm going to swing it. And I don't even have time to do that. And I've got to figure out how to make it happen.
It's about making
because
time.
I enjoy it so much.
It's about making time.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, if you got to neglect your business, that's fine. If you got to neglect your kids for a little bit, okay, cool, whatever. Like, they'll get over it. I just think, if you got to find the time, you got to make the time to get out there and play some golf.
It's interesting too, because I really want my kids to learn golf, and that's going to be a goal this summer as well. And that there's selfish reasons for that, right? It's because I want them to come play with me. That would help the case to go play golf. But also when I play golf, Tommy, I kind of like to, to make a scene a little bit, and mess with people, because I'm not very good. Like, that's it. That's all I got, right? Is how can I help you be worse to even the playing field a little bit? My kids don't need to see that. Or maybe they do. I don't know.
It'd be fun. It'd be a learning experience for them.
It's hard because, like, if any of them ever get really good at golf and like competitive and are competing, I don't do that when I play golf. Like all the the rules. Like, if we played golf, Tommy, I would have to ask you 58 questions. Like, what's the proper etiquette here? Because, like, if I do something wrong, like, you're just gonna have to live with me on that. Because I don't, like, it's hard for me. I'm so, I've been raised that way too. Like, it's not my fault. It's my dad's fault, because that's, he's the kind of guy that'll start an argument just to see what you say. Right. Like, it doesn't even matter what it is. Like, he's that way on the golf course too. Like, you got to talk a little trash. And I just don't know if I'm ready for my kids to see me talk that kind of trash, that level of trash. But we'll see. Let's get Bruce out to the course. We'll swing it around a little bit.
Yeah, we should have like a sports daily golf tournament, like a sports daily golf outing or something.
I believe that
see
one
what kind
existed.
of
I
really?
think one existed at one time. I believe there was a sport. Jad, do you recall that? I'm pretty sure there used to be a golf tournament because I think somebody's asked me about it before.
Huh. I don't really recall that there was specifically a Sports Daily tournament. I think there were times that Sports Daily participated in golf for certain things or in tournaments for something or other. And of course there was the World Series of Face Off used to be a Sports Daily thing, but I don't think there was specifically a Sports Daily tournament.
We need to figure out two things. We need to figure out a listener-driven fantasy football league, I think, and we need to look into that. Like, I wonder how we could do that. Let's brainstorm that. And if any listeners have any ideas, you can email us or let us know. Like, what could we do that maybe could raise some money for a charity where we get to get out there and swing it, and I can make a butt out of myself and, mess with people, and we could put something fun on the line and do that kind of thing. Because I don't think anybody cares that would just be fun to go play.
Yeah.
And anytime we can get the listeners
raise some money
together,
for a great cause, that'd be awesome.
I think we could get that done. I think we know enough people that could probably carve out a little window for us to get out on the course and make that happen. So let's look into that this summer. Why not? We'll have some fun and it'd have to probably be done in the fall now as we look at that. But a pipe dream, perhaps, maybe not though. Maybe we can get something organized. I mean, Tommy, you know far more about the game than I do. We'll see.
You know what
how
would
that
be
goes.
good?
But I bet what's that?
The River Festival used to have a contest. It was basically kind of a closest to the pin contest. You would hit the ball from basically the boathouse over the river and up onto Douglas, basically on the McLean,
awesome.
Basically on the other side, trying to get closest to the pin that was on the riverbank. That used to happen right about the same time that they stopped doing the Riverfest for COVID. They stopped doing that, and I don't think it's come back yet. You'd bring that up and make that a Sports Daily River Festival contest.
We do have an update from our boss, Tony Dusing. He says there was a Sports Daily golf tournament. The money benefited scholarships at Wichita State. So maybe that's something, maybe that's an armchair strategies NIL type thing. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Kevin Saul getting involved in that.
Let's figure that out. Yeah, let's figure that out. That would be too much fun to pass, because then we would just, we would extend invitations to local sports people. I'm not saying like us. I'm saying like Bruce Ramsey or Kevin Saul or Paul Mills or Looney or Lauren Hibbs, anybody. But the only rules, Tommy, that I need in place are that this is the least formal golf tournament anybody's ever played in before. Like, you got like nothing serious about it. In fact, the least serious possible, with all kinds of shenanigans, would make this thing the best it could be.
The best, and I played in a ton of charity golf tournaments over the course of my career. I mean, I played in a lot of them. My favorite one of all time, I don't even remember who it benefited, but it was down in Derby, and there was a drink station at every single hole. And like one hole had margaritas, one hole had Jello shots, one hole, I mean, like you name it, every hole had a different kind of drink station there. And it was a mess, but man, it was fun.
Yeah, those are fun. Those take like 6.5 hours to do. I don't know. I'm talking, yes, of course we would have fun in that way. I'm talking about like fun in that, like the game itself. Like, I don't want anybody, griping because of some, like, I want it the loosest rules possible, like just whatever that is, because then I think more people can have fun with it. Like golf can be very intimidating if you play with good golfers, because they take it so serious. The least fun, Tommy, that I've ever had playing golf is when I was playing the best golf that I could play, which for me was like a 90, right? Like that, and I was playing once a week, and this was a long time ago. But I didn't have nearly as much fun playing because I would get so frustrated at a game that I'm never going to be that good at. So like, why get so upset when and frustrated when I'm not, when I'm missing some shot? Like I'm having much more fun when, and I don't want to be terrible. And I'm not a terrible golfer. Don't get me wrong.
I was playing with a buddy one time and I was not playing well at all. And I was frustrated and I was cursing and hitting my clubs on the ground and all that. My buddy goes, well, hey, do you practice? And I'm like, well, no. And he's like, well, then why are you getting mad? Like you don't practice. Like you just come out and play. So like you have no right to be mad because you're not practicing to get better. Okay, well that makes sense. So I've tried to like tone that down over the years a little bit, but I mean, yeah, like I'm with you. Like I think there's a fine line between really, really getting into the competitive side of it. And I've done that before. I've played in different tournaments where it is competitive and you're trying to win and you're trying to play as best as you can. Then there are times where it's like, hey, let's have as much fun as we can have and maybe get a little sloppy.
The best round of golf I've ever played in my life, there was at least 3 inches of snow on the ground during that round when I played. Everybody broke out the orange and yellow balls and 3 inches of snow on the ground. It was a lot of fun. I've also played a back nine at a tournament barefoot.
Okay.
That was very less serious and a lot of fun. I did it on a bet. Somebody said I kept telling them how great the grass was at this particular course and how I could probably play it barefoot because it was so immaculate. And they, put your money where your mouth is, fine. And I played the back nine barefoot.
Love that.
Yikes.
So much fun.
In the snow? Barefoot in the snow?
No, that was not a snow tournament. Those were 2 different tournaments there.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you're insane.
I'd love to play one of those. Have you ever heard of the glow ball tournaments where like it's dark and the golf ball lights up and then that'd be a ton of fun.
I'm going to tell you right now, I want the most neon ball anyway, so that it's easier to find. I want the cheapest ball and the brightest ball so that it's easiest to find. Golf is great. I love golf, but I love it the most when everybody's having fun. That's why charity tournaments are usually the most fun, is because everybody's having a blast. And hey, if I'm on your team, I'll help your handicap. So there's that. 869-1240 is the number to call. We'll look into this. We got our juices flowing on that. That would be something really fun to do. And I know with our great listeners, we could absolutely benefit something awesome with it. And we know a lot of people that I would imagine can help us out with getting some holes put together and letting us play a little bit as well. All right, 869-1240. So the NCAA is doing this thorough review. We won't bore you with the details of that, but I do wonder, what if we could just blow it all up and start over, right? Like, what changes do we think we could make to make it better? 869-1240. We'll get into that as we make our way through Sports Daily on KFH. Your chance to win a trip to see Guns N' Roses at a U.S. stop of your choice on their 2023 World Tour, including round-trip airfare, a 2-night hotel stay, a pair of tickets, and a $200 gift card. Go to kfhradio.com to enter for the chance to win this national contest. Get tickets now at livenation.com. All right, we got some calls here. We got everybody excited on this golf conversation. This is a total, left field thing that's happened here today, but we like it. Let's go to Mike first on the line. Mike, welcome in on the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. I should say David, welcome in on the IHOP hotline. What's on your mind, David?
Yeah, there's a tournament we play at Pine Bay down here at 63rd and Hydraulic, and it's called a 3-club golf tournament. So you pick the 2 clubs that you like, and one of them's got to be a putter. So it's got a nice, big, long par 5, and it also has the island hole. So it's about 140 yards to an island. So you got to decide what iron you like or whatever, but you play it the entire 9 holes. Pretty challenging, drink, have fun or whatever. And then he always set it up to where whoever won it would get like a couple free rounds, and everybody got a sleeve of balls or whatever. It's a great tournament, but it's just challenging because you only get to select 3 clubs and you play those 9 holes. So if you're a big hitter, you want to take your driver, you might be hurting a little bit on the short holes.
I love that. I love that, David. And you know what?
Yeah,
on top of that,
that's good.
It's been a long time since I played Pine Bay. Like I played it maybe 10 years ago.
I have not played it.
So the Island Green down there in Derby, I remember. So former host of Sports Daily, Bruce Hurdle, like a long time ago, he did a ranking of the top golf holes in the Wichita Metro, and that Island Green at Pine Bay made the list. That's a fun course to play. That would be a fun tournament to do.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It reminds me, what is it, 10 Cup? Is it 10 Cup where he's got to play with one club? Mike, we appreciate the idea and the call. I had an uncle David, why do I keep saying Mike? David, thank you for the call. I had an uncle who was just an unbelievable athlete, and he was that kind of golfer where he would go. I used to watch him win so much money, just sandbagging guys back. I'll play the whole. I'll take my 7-iron only, and just crush them. And like that kind of stuff. I'm always like mesmerized by those sorts of, again, like what breaks like the traditions and like, makes it the everyman game. I think that's what makes golf great. All right, let's check in with Earl. Earl, what's up? IHOP hotline 869-1240.
Hey, just to let you know, they only call it golf because all the other 4-letter words were taken. But to get your juices flowing for the everyman, man, you need to go to a mini golf course. Just for the evening, line everybody up there, little putt, and that way, guys bring, you got to get a new putter because the old one didn't float. But the best idea is a little putt or frisbee golf. Make it the everyman.
Oh, now
thing.
Earl, now hang on a minute. No,
cut you off there. Not doing that.
Yeah, Earl. Earl, you're too rock and roll for frisbee golf, for frolf, right? Like, you're way too rock and roll for frolf. Like, unless you're gonna like break out the, I don't know, love circle and drum line or whatever. Like frolf. Now, come on, Earl. We're
gonna play hacky sack afterwards. What are we doing here?
Okay, because I'm not a golfer. My time spent outdoors is not with a pitching wedge. It's pitching a jig to heavy cover. So I'm not a golfer. So when you're saying everyman, for me, and I had no idea, frisbee golf is thought of like the hippie letter sport. No idea that that's what it was. But it seemed like more people would get involved. You could throw a frisbee, and I could see that. I mean, but hey, mini golf, though. Mini golf. I mean, you can have the whole place for a night, line up, charity deal, make it, a little putt, baby. Yeah, then no one gets all crazy with the rules, and I think that would be good time. So just trying to think out of the box for you from a non-golfer.
Hey, Earl.
Yes.
Jad here. I just got to say, I am a guy that played golf, and I'm right there with you. I played golf in high school. I played tournaments, that sort of thing. I'm right there with you. I think disc or mini golf, perfect. Really perfect.
That's how we get us all involved. Would rather hey, we can do a fishing tournament, man. We go out to El Dorado. They do it all the time. All right.
I
Take care, guys.
I can catch perch. I can catch perch all day with hot dogs.
I'll let Earl and Jad have a nice little date night going and playing Frolf.
Yeah,
that's fine. You guys can enjoy that. Have yourselves a blast. Go get frozen yogurt afterwards if you want.
It's something. By the way, before we switch to this NCAA topic, and Earl, who's our resident rock and roll expert, I saw that Dolly Parton starting to drop some of her rock and roll albums. She collaborated with Slash and then another guy I've never heard of on a song. I was trying to check it out. I can't wait for Dolly's rock album. Dolly is an angel, by the way, and the best. So I will have Earl break down her rock and roll album when that happens. All right, 869-1240. Tommy, the NCAA. So what has this out there, and this is probably a topic, that we need to spend more time on. But for now, Charlie Baker, the new president, has hired a company. They're going to pay a whole bunch of money for somebody to come in and basically top to bottom evaluate the NCAA and identify what could make it better. It's interesting because, like, if you read this story from Dennis Dodd, most of the feedback from administrators is like, thank goodness and finally. But it's because they feel like the NCAA could be making more money than it does, not as much as, trying to solve like NIL and stuff. But a lot of the feedback on it is, why isn't the NCAA more aggressive in trying to, make the best of these situations? If you took away the men's basketball tournament, I think, which is like 90% or something insane of the revenue driver for the NCAA. But when you see the NCAA tournament doing that, like, how does the NCAA not take advantage of everything else and really drive home the ability to make money? And now, especially, like, if you're starting over, if you've got a chance to do it, top priority for Tommy Castor with the NCAA is what?
Completely shut it down. I mean, it's so irrelevant. It's irrelevant now.
See, but it's not irrelevant because you do have to have an organizational body to handle things.
Do you?
Like postseasons? Who's good? How are you going to do
Can't the
March
conferences
Madness?
plan their own tournament?
Well, the conferences plan their tournaments, but they don't plan something like March Madness.
Can't you get a committee of the commissioners of the respective conferences to put together their own tournament? Do they have to have oversight?
That's kind of what the NCAA is. I mean, that's sort of what the NCAA is. I mean, it is sort of a committee.
But even a loose affiliation committee of commissioners.
See, I disagree. I think the NCAA, if done right, is a necessary and could be very beneficial. I think if the NCAA would get out of its own way in trying to prevent players from making money, it could do a lot of really positive thing for the sports. Number one, embrace these players making money. Partner with them. Everybody can benefit more if everybody's working toward the same goal, not pushing against each other all the time. That would be the top priority for me. If you can figure out a way to make NIL good for everybody involved, then everybody's going to benefit. Now, revenue sharing is the elephant in the room to me, that makes that difficult because the NCAA will never want to give that up. But man, if you could collectively work, think about the pro sports, right? Yeah, you have collective bargaining and there's labor disputes and all that stuff. But in the end, everybody's benefiting more because of it, right? So figure out how to do that if you're the NCAA. Then maybe you can go in and develop more partnerships and sponsorship, opportunities and all of these other avenues and platforms that you could do. Like, if I'm that, and I hope it does, I hope this firm comes in and says what every court has said, like, this model doesn't work. It's backwards. Like, why aren't we working together? Why are players and it's not even the schools anymore. That's the crazy part, Tommy. At least it doesn't feel that way to me. Like, it feels like schools and players are beginning to work together through NIL, but the NCAA is not. And conferences are signing these deals and like all this stuff's going through. How do you most profit for everybody? Why on earth has it taken us this long to get to a college football playoff? If you see what March Madness does, how in the world has it taken so long to get to a playoff system in football, which is your greatest revenue driver? Because if March Madness is worth $1 billion, Tommy, what is a 16-team football playoff worth? $3 billion? Like,
a lot of money. a lot of money. The NCAA can't get out of its own way, and they never have been able to. Like, it's been forever an institution that is set in its own ways. They've dug their heels into the ground. Mark Emmert did that his entire tenure as the president of the NCAA, was never willing to budge on anything. Charlie Baker's come in, and I think there was some optimism early on that he might be a little bit more willing to do that. I'm not really so sure that's going to be the case with Charlie Baker leading the NCAA now. In my mind, I think that a lot of this, I mean, and I know that this has been tossed around before. I don't think that you're going to really see substantial change, and you're talking about revenue sharing and all of that, until the players are able to unionize. And I don't know if that will ever happen. And I don't know if that's something that would even be the right thing to do. But if you want to talk about revenue sharing as a potential on the table, that's really the only way that I think that conversation can happen.
I don't think that's a good idea. I hope it doesn't ever get to that point, because I think it would be pretty catastrophic. I don't think it needs to. And the problem with it to me is there's so much of a difference between sports and levels, like between FBS and FCS. Like, trying to unionize college athletes to me is not going to go.
But don't you think that the NCAA and the member institutions are walking a really fine line? And I know NIL has helped solve this, but they're walking a really fine line where all it would take, honestly, would be all of the Division I basketball players to come together and say, we're not playing. We're not playing. We're walking out. I don't think they would ever do that. I don't know. Who knows? I think NIL softens the blow a little bit, but until there's this, like,
really bad,
hey, you're making all this money off our backs, we want some of the piece of the pie from these media rights deals. I don't know. I mean, that could be a possibility.
It's why it's always been mind-numbing to me that the NCAA doesn't work more hand in hand, because if that's the alternative, everybody loses, right? Like, and I do think we'll get there. And I think that, again, I think schools are figuring out ways to do this well. But again, there's always roadblocks, and it's always like the NCAA is pushing the brakes hard, and sometimes they're for legitimate reasons. But
There's
again,
been conversations that I've heard in reporting that, you know, there would be benefits to media rights deals where a portion of that money is earmarked and allocated for quote unquote salaries for players. And so some of that media rights deal, the money comes in to the member schools. There's a salary cap. They set aside that money. Every school gets a piece of the pie for the express purpose of paying and compensating the players.
Yep. And it doesn't, and at that point, right, then you don't get, if the players were to unionize and try and that's always the issue, right? Like, everybody wants the same thing. And that's just not reality in college athletics, because everybody doesn't bring the same value. And then you get into an open market. So it would just be, it doesn't need to get to that, right? Like, that's the point for me. Like, if you're the NCAA, like, start over and figure out how you can work together, because ultimately that's going to create more money for you anyway. Like, you might have to share some of it, but you've got more to make. That's for me what the NCAA's got to do, because if they continue to be this stubborn, they're going to lose every court battle. We already know that. They do every time. Like, you can't let it get to that point, because it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't jive with the way our society works. So what can you do to make that not happen and help everybody out? We're making progress. Look, I bash on this all the time. NIL, all this stuff, it has been so much better to me lately than it was 6-7 years ago. So there's progress being made, but continue that. Don't dig in and try and stop the progress. Embrace it, make it better. 869-1240 is the number to call. Let's give away, you know what? Let's give away another pair of tickets. I'm excited about this. Fast X over at Boulevard Town West Theaters. If you want to get a sneak preview on May 18th, we've got some tickets for you. Another pair of tickets to Fast X. It's the next Fast and Furious movie, which means it's going to be highly entertaining, I'm sure. Fast cars, explosions, all the good stuff. 869-1240 to the IHOP hotline. Chad will get us a pair of winners there. We'll come back with more Sports Daily after this. Congratulations, Mark. Winner of our pair of tickets to Fast X. We got this into the newsroom, Tom. This is funny, and it makes me think of Earl for some reason. Kansas Wildlife and Parks sent out something. The Finney County Game Wardens reminding people not to go fishing with firearms. That's not the way to fish. That's that. I know it can be frustrating to go fishing, but if you're fishing, use a fishing pole. I think it's legal to like tie a string to a crossbow and try and go that way, but you can't fish with a gun. Everybody,
it's like
just
shooting fish in a barrel, right? Shooting
Exactly.
fish in a barrel.
Or a pond. Don't do that. That's not the way to do it. I love like the image of that makes me laugh pretty hard, but I think that can be a little bit.
I just think
dangerous.
of like old Looney Tunes cartoons, like Yosemite Sam or Elmer Fudd. Pulling out there, just shooting in a pond. Trying to get all the fish.
We've all been there, right? I've been frustrated fishing. Fishing's another one like golf. I have far more fun if I am enjoying the outdoors, having a beer, and not taking it too seriously. Like, fishing's that, like, I go fishing and I don't care if I catch fish.
My question for you is, it seems like the only time you ever enjoy activities is if there's beer involved. Is that true?
No.
That's kind of what I'm gathering from all of this.
Sometimes that's really depressing. No, I just like my point in all of that is like the social aspect of these endeavors to me is far more important than the execution. Now there are some things that success is necessary. Like, let's see, and I haven't done this in a while, but like a softball league, right? Absolutely need to win those games or it's not going to be satisfying. Playing poorly and losing would not be fun, no matter how much beer there is. I don't like to lose at pickleball is the new one, right? Like that's one. It's a little different, like when it's, doubles and you're just kind of goofing around and like mix that's a little bit different. But like, so my wife is a good tennis player. So she's a good athlete anyway, and a good pickleball player to the point that like we can play one-on-one very competitively and it's super fun. And I do not like to lose to her in pickleball or anybody when I'm playing one-on-one. So, not everything, but most of these things, like I don't want to, like, I got too many things to be worried about and stressed about. I don't want to like go fishing and get stressed out because I'm not catching a fish. I don't want to go play golf and get stressed out and worried because I duffed a shot. Now, I don't like to do that stuff, but I'm not going to lose much sleep over it.
I'm a very, very casual fisher, like very casual. I enjoy it. I don't do it all that often, but because I'm not very good at it and because I don't really know the first thing about it, the best fishing experiences for me, at least, are the ones where somebody is taking me out and they're putting me right where all the fish are. And they're basically holding my hand on how to do all of it. And then I know I'm going to catch a fish when it's all said and done. And I know that's really lame. And it's I'd like to be able to say, hey, I'm really good at it. I can handle it on my own. I just can't. That's one thing that I'm very casual, and I'm a big time amateur when it comes to fishing.
Well, yeah. So like as a kid, when we go up to the mountains and trying to catch like trout in the river, I was frustrating. I have just as much fun in the neighborhood pond catching perch with hot dogs with my kids, right? Like there's some perch in the pond and we can go down and, catch perch. And in typical dad mode, I spend all my time taking fish off the hooks for my kids while they catch them. And that to me is as good a fishing as any. Like, I don't need to go catch a swordfish.
Now, the Department of Parks and Wildlife, they didn't say anything about catching fish with hot dogs, right? That wasn't part of it.
I hope not. I hope not. Look, yeah. I get it. Like, you're not supposed to, give Cheerios to the goldfish or the koi fish or whatever. And sometimes like the wildlife. I grew up on a farm, man. Like, I'm not good at rules. I'm not good at like domestication. Like, I grew up on a farm where you pretty much can do whatever you want. There's a little defiance there, but yeah, I don't think, what's wrong with hot dogs? Everybody likes hot dogs, except my wife. If you don't like hot dogs, we're going to have a different conversation. 869-1240. We'll come back. Let's give away one more thing on our way to the final segment here. Let's do some Wind Surge vouchers. We'll do a 4-pack of those. You can use those for any game you'd like. They're good for whatever. You get the voucher, you pick the time and the place, and then you get the tickets. You can go on Sports Daily and KFH, 869-1240, the IHOP hotline. We'll come back. We'll tell you what's on the network next.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off every.
right, welcome back, everybody. That's it for us on this Friday edition. Glad to have you with us. Thanks to Bruce Ramsey and our callers on the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. Jim Rome coming up at 11, Bob and Jeff at 2, Maggie and Perloff, and Zach Gelb before Wichita State baseball begins in a critical series with Houston. 6:10 pregame on Saturday as well, and then 12:40 pregame on Sunday. So tune in for that. We'll have it all broken down for you coming up next week. For Tommy Castor, for Jad Chambers, I'm Jacob Albracht. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back Monday for you.
Sports, later news, and